exclusively.
What is this?
77 WABC.
No sleep till.
Beastie Boys classic. No Sleep Till Brooklyn at 11:07 on your Monday. Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Bernie and Sid Show here on legendary 77 WABC. Phones are open as always. 1-800-848-WABC. 1-800-848-9222. Had a nice back and forth with you guys on the Hamilton story this weekend, how the actor on stage actually went after Mike Pence. And I do believe that Rosen is going to join us this hour. Is that right?
He's going to join us momentarily. But in the meantime, do you know why Flirty's playing this song? A, because James Rosen is a Brooklyn kid.
Yes, he is. As
but
I am.
B, the Beastie Boys were in the news over the weekend.
I didn't see that, so I don't know what happened.
Well, not apparently. Somebody drew a swastika in a park that was named after the late Beastie Boy, Adam Hurrick.
You know, it's funny. I saw the swastika story. I saw the name Adam, whatever his name is, but I didn't put 1 and 2 together and figure out that was him from the Beastie Boys. So I did know the story. I had no idea it was him.
So right away, this Adam Horowitz, he organizes some rally to go out there to blame Trump. And they had this big, and not understanding that it's probably a hooligan, a teenager, or a hoax.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
You know what I mean?
That's too much.
It's unbelievable.
It really is a bit much.
So he's out there. They had a big rally, and it turns out that a lot of these incidents recently have been complete and total hoaxes.
Yeah.
And obviously designed to make Trump look bad. And the media and the guys like Horowitz eat it up, suck it up. I don't know if they're willfully ignorant or what it is, but it's always been the case. You have some.
They're pissed.
It's the ultimate trolling. You draw, paint a swastika on something, and sure enough, the news trucks show up.
Oh, absolutely.
KKK, sure, if the news trucks are there,
sure.
And it's anti-Semitic graffiti, and meanwhile, the kids at home going, that was me.
Yeah.
In other words, encouraging that type of behavior. It was just, this Adam Horowitz was just a bit much yesterday. You want to take a listen to this guy.
Keep your eyes open. Stand up for each other. Don't be afraid to step in or enlist the help of others, because this is homegrown terrorism for real. Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, and Staten. From the Battery to the top of Manhattan, Asian, Middle Eastern, and Latin, black, white, New York, let's make it happen.
I think that kid Adam from Beastie Boys went to Morrow High School in Brooklyn, Midwood Field, where my wife went.
They didn't teach him very well because he's a dying moron is what he is, an idiot.
He's dead. I'm talking about the kid from the Beastie Boys.
I'm talking about Horowitz.
Oh, Horowitz is an idiot.
Yeah, he's a fool. Just a fool. Understand what's happening here. As a matter of fact, my friend Greg Gutfeld.
The bullhorn sound. Yeah.
My friend Greg Gutfeld over the weekend, he had his show, and he opened it. Take a listen to what he said.
Did you hear the story of the Muslim student claiming her hijab was torn off by men in Trump hats? Turns out she made it up. Or the Boston guy who said he was harassed by men saying it's Trump country now. He made it up. The story about students wearing blackface after Trump's win? They made it up. A KKK rally in honor of Trump? Made it up. In fact, almost every so-called Trump-caused hate crime seems about as fake as a bag of Charlie Sheen's teeth.
The punchline was...
And that was the case. I'm sure that's the case out in this Adam Horowitz Park with the swastika. All these people are freaking out at some stupid hooligan. I mean, it's a horrendous thing. You can't be painting.
No, of course not.
But if it's a hoax or it's a dumb hooligan, some guy trolling
it's
you,
less evil and less deviant.
I bet you I know who did it.
Who did it?
Hillary.
Yeah, blame her. By the way, Greg Gutfeld, I'm not happy with him. He did spend over an hour on the Howard Stern show last week and did not mention you or us. So just telling you.
I don't think he was asked.
What does that mean? You bring it up out of I do. I'm on O'Reilly, my buddy Bernard McGurk. He's the man. He's the ba-ba-ba. I mean, if he had any class at all.
He's got plenty of class, and he's funny. As a matter of fact, just coincidentally, he did Greg, my buddy Greg, had as a guest.
Right.
He had Fox News journalist James Rosen.
Oh, the great James Rosen.
The great James Rosen, who happens to be the author of a fantastic book, which I have now, since his last appearance, I have fully read. It's called A Torch Kept Lit. Great Lives of the 20th Century by William F. Buckley Jr., edited by James. It's a compilation of eulogies that William F. Buckley has given verbally or written in the National Review. And it is absolutely a fantastic read. Buckley was one hell of a wit and intelligent guy. James Rosen, good morning to you.
You guys are so good to me. Thank you so much.
You actually,
not
just us, but the I-Man himself, Don Imus, this morning was giving you some high praise for the book and some of your work. How about that?
Well, the check is in the mail. He knows where his bread is buttered. No, I'm very grateful to my friends.
You know, he was Mr. Imus was talking. He was fascinated with Whittaker Chambers, the whole Whittaker Chambers Alger Hiss thing, and in the book, Whittaker Chambers actually wrote for the National Review after being a communist. He switched sides. The whole Alger Hiss thing went down, and he wrote for the National Review and was a friend of William F. Buckley's until he passed away in '61. And there's a nice, eloquent eulogy to him in that book. So anyway, but I don't want to talk about Whittaker Chambers as much. He wrote eulogies, did William F. Buckley, in this book, A Torch Kept Lit. And they're not all hagiographic in nature, if I may use a $3 word with you, Mr. Rosen. He would actually criticize people like Eleanor Roosevelt was simple. Nelson Rockefeller was responsible for the downfall of New York State. But the one that really stuck out to me was his eulogy. In his eulogy, he criticized Winston Churchill for selling out Eastern Europe. And I was floored by that.
Yeah, so one of the things that makes A Torch Kept Lit such an easy book to read and such a good gift at Christmas for your friends, your family, is because you could pick it up at any point and just turn to any of the great figures that interest you and just read those one by one and put it down and come back to it. In the case of Winston Churchill, you're talking about someone who is routinely lionized in the conservative community, and the eulogy by Bill Buckley, who had seen Winston Churchill speak himself in public in 1949, and he recounts watching the elderly Churchill struggle to the podium to speak. He celebrated the life and accomplishments of Winston Churchill up to and including the end of World War II, but then is very harsh on Churchill for continuing to stay in public life when he did not have the stamina to prosecute the Cold War as it required, with the result that about 1/3 of the world's population wound up enslaved behind the Iron Curtain. And Buckley was very critical of that. And so that is a fascinating entry in the book. You're very astute to have settled on it.
How about that? Very astute. How about that? Well, talking about being astute, he was astute. To his credit, my partner, I got to give him credit, the whole way in this election. He said from day one right to the very end, when in fact nobody, especially me, gave Donald Trump a chance to win. There's a solid majority. He's going to do better with minorities than people think. And some of that may have been wishful thinking, but to his credit, he said exactly the way it would turn out, and it turned out that way. I was wrong 1,000%. Last time you were on, James, I tried to make the argument that Donald Trump was not going to keep it close, and you cautioned me not to do that. And in the end, Bernard was right. So even though you cautioned me not to do that, were you still surprised that night that he won going away with the Electoral College?
First of all of us who surround you as your loved ones try very hard to keep you on the right path. It's not easy work.
No, it's not.
But yes, I was surprised. I cannot claim to be one of those people who was out and about predicting Donald Trump's going to win and he's going to win big, of which group, of course, the leader in that category was Donald Trump himself. We're going to win so big. We're going to win so big. But I think that it's certainly a day of reckoning for not just you, but a lot of people in the media, and particularly our reliance on polling. One of the refreshing things about this event, even if you were a staunch Hillary Clinton supporter, I have to imagine, is that we live in such a data-driven age, and we all think that we're stuck like flies to the great data grid, and there's no getting off of it, and there's no defying it. And here we had an event that defied all the data that we had at our fingertips, and it showed that we can still live in a world of surprises. And even if you don't like the particular political outcome here, that should be somewhat reassuring, I should think.
Well, it hasn't been, though, because of people who don't like the political outcome for the most part. I mean, the day after the election, I said, listen, it is what it is. I've got 2 young children. I hope he succeeds. I hope he does great. I want this country to be great. Unfortunately, a lot of folks are not with me, and they are very angry, pissed, in fact, that Donald Trump won. They continue to show it in the streets, even at a Broadway theater. What are your thoughts about the way those people are reacting?
I think there's a lot of bad behavior at work. I think roughly half of the nation, of a very divided nation, is proceeding fitfully through the 12 stages of grief. Some of this has amounted to denial, but really a kind of special form of it that we might call paid denial. And I think that sooner or later it's going to settle out, and he will be accepted as the President of the United States. It's not like he's Gerald Ford, who became president without being elected vice president or president of the United States. But Ford's very first words to the country after being sworn in were to say, "My fellow Americans, I've just taken the same oath of office as George Washington and every president under the Constitution." His message was, yes, we all can agree it was a strange way that I got here, but I am the President of the United States. I took the same oath. And eventually that's going to settle in, and Ford was accepted as president. And I think that'll be true for Donald Trump ultimately as well.
And also this tantrum that we're seeing there. Did you say paid deniers, James?
Yeah, I think there's been some reporting to the effect that some of these protests have not exactly been spontaneous. But when you talk about the hypocrisy of it, I was reading where some fashion designers have decided that they're going to deny their services to Melania Trump. And as foolish and self-defeating as it is, because we can agree no first lady will ever, quote-unquote, wear it better and make for a better advertisement for that designer. The hypocrisy is really crystalline there, because the people who are spitefully denying their services to Melania Trump, who did nothing wrong, by the way, are the same people who are the champions of the view that even if you're an evangelical pastry shop owner in New Jersey somewhere, you should not be allowed to deny your services to a homosexual, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of bad behavior at work here, and I do hope it settles down. It's not only in the interests of us as a society, it's in the interest of these people as individuals not to hang on to that kind of anger about an election outcome.
Well, you said that eventually everybody will kind of get over it. Squeaky Foam didn't, by the way, with Gerald Ford, just so you know. But just to show you that there's Mike Pence in a crowded theater on Broadway on Saturday night, and the actor, of course, addressed him, that people were booing him, and I think kind of tongue-in-cheek, Bernard and I kind of joking around about the comparisons, what happened with Abraham Lincoln, also in a theater, and an actor on stage eventually killed him. But there is a little bit of scary stuff going on here. Some of these people are a bit above and beyond just expressing their opinions verbally.
That incident at the theater was very disappointing. It's the type of behavior toward a singular figure in a crowded theater that is redolent of authoritarian regimes. And I would say that it reminded me of the Woody Allen movie Stardust Memories. I don't know if you remember that one, but yeah. Woody Allen in that movie played a very Woody Allen-like director, and he was sick of being a director of very popular comedies, and he wanted to do something serious for mankind. And everywhere he goes, people keep saying the same thing. Even in dream sequences with Martians, they keep saying to him, "Like your early funny ones better." And finally, the Martians say to this Woody Allen-like director, "You want to do a great service for mankind? Tell funnier jokes." And I feel that if the cast of Hamilton needs this reminder as well. It was no one went to that theater to hear the actor who portrays Aaron Burr get political.
Nobody.
You want to do a service for mankind? Put on a better show.
Exactly.
Wow.
Very good. Very well said. A lot of these people, we're speaking with James Rosen from Fox News, also the author of A Torch Kept Lit, Great Lives of the 20th Century, a compilation of brilliant eulogies by William F. Buckley throughout the years. Now, a lot of people say that these protests are a manifestation of this participation trophy nation that we live in. A lot of these people are young folks. And a lot of folks in the past were inspired by Gandhi, Martin Luther King. These idiots were inspired by Chelsea Handler and Miley Cyrus crying on Instagram, for God's sakes. I mean, it really is a pathetic statement on the next generation.
Well, I personally am a Chelsea Handler fan. I will confess to that.
Chewy.
But I would say that Saturday Night Live, of all places, did a great send-up of all this. In a recent episode where they had like a fake commercial for a real estate venture called The Bubble. And it was basically where liberals could live underneath an actual bubble where they're shielded in their safe space from any adverse news from the outside world, such as the election of Donald Trump. And at the end, they just said, yes, one-bedroom apartments in this place called The Bubble are starting at $1.9 million. And it said, The Bubble. it's Brooklyn with a bubble. And I thought it was refreshing to see Saturday Night Live tackle that kind of subject as well for once.
Actually being funny again. So let me ask you this, James. I saw a tweet this morning, and it said that every single GOP appointee over the past 15 years has been labeled a racist by the Democrats. Which one is closer to being true? That tweet or Jeff Sessions and Steve Bannon? Not such good guys.
Well, more broadly, again, and this goes back to what we were just talking about with respect to the liberal response to the ascendancy of Donald Trump. Every Republican president at the dawn of his administration, from Richard Nixon on, has been branded by the left as embodying the dawn of a new fascism. And with each individual Republican president, from Nixon onward, we've been told, all right, the gloves and the authoritarian fascist mask are coming off this time. This time it's for real. This time we're going to see repression in America with a K, spelling America with a K.
Right.
Even George H.W. Bush got this treatment. People forget it, but at the time he was labeled as a...
It really is the last refuge of skunks with no argument to label people as such.
We lost them.
And James Rosen, the brilliant James Rosen.
So good.
You know what? He probably just hung up on us.
Yeah, enough of this.
He's
enough
like,
of this.
You know what? I'll just pretend my phone cut out. I'm sick of these bald-headed dummies.
Have you done that before? I've done that during interviews.
Of course I have.
Yeah. And they call me back like 10 times in an effort to get me back. And like the next day, I'm like, the phone was dead for the rest of the night.
Email them back.
Now they know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost you. That's too bad. I wanted to ask him because he covers the State Department. And we were talking about the State Department. Alger Hiss was a Soviet spy in FDR's State Department. But I wanted to ask him about Trump's whole campaign was anti-interventionism, anti-Iraq war stuff. And yet he's considering John Bolton, Rudy Giuliani.
All pro-Iraq war guys.
Right, exactly
Why
right.
would you do that, though? That's going to make Donald Trump look inconsistent.
Even Mitt Romney. But he is interviewing this Tulsi Gabbard, this congresswoman who was a virulent virulent anti-Iraq war person, even though she served there. I just wanted to ask him what his thoughts on all that stuff was, but I guess we're not going to get him back. All right. Hey, James Rosen, the Brooklyn kid.
Great job.
Grew up in Staten Island. Brilliant guy. The book is A Torch Kept Lit. William F. Buckley, compilation of eulogies, brilliantly written. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
It was great. The book was great. He was great. But we're over the phones again here because he had a really good little thing going. All these folks out there commenting about the whole Hamilton thing. 1-800-848-WABC. 1-800-848-9222. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. You got Noam and your phone calls on Hamilton and whatever else you want to talk about. More of Bernie and Sid right after this.
77